On President Cyril Ramaphosa's economic recovery plan, we're now joined via Skype by Sello Phahle, the director of SKYPE Media. Sello, very warm welcome to you. Thank you very much for joining us here on SABC News.
Thank you, Ma.
Now, I do understand that you're doing some research on the economic recovery of black-owned businesses. We're quite apt with our discussion going forward. You've written a piece on the economic recovery specifically pertaining to black-owned businesses and the construction sector. Talk to us about your views on what the president had to say today, what he has tabled today, and what that would mean essentially for black-owned businesses and construction, as I think that's where your expertise really is.
Right, yes. Thank you so much for this platform. Greetings to you and the viewers. Now, I wrote this article thinking that perhaps some of the things that I've articulated, the piece is actually going out tomorrow. I thought that some of the stuff that I actually articulated on there, the president is going to address them, but the president didn't address them. Right? So he's saying that he wants to build an inclusive and transformative economy, right, through infrastructure. One thing that we know now is that the black businesses are being isolated by government. The minister, Sisulu, she conceded that they are struggling to pay over 800 million worth of invoices, right? That is due to black businesses. You are killing the very same businesses that you are saying that you want to use in order to carry the economy and make it transformative. And to add insult to that, you go and you award, right, a project which is one of the listed projects that was gazetted, which the president mentioned, which is the Moiku project. You go and you give it to a Baldwin, a company that's not even BE compliant. What are you saying to these companies, right, which have the capacity? They are rated at level 8. They've got the capacity to do the work, but instead you fetch a company that is in the private industry and to bring it here. Furthermore, he says he spoke to banks, right, in order for banks to move certain barriers in order to give the stimulus package, I think it's the 200 million, to struggling businesses, right? The black businesses in construction already, before COVID-19, they are already in debt because of government is failing to pay them. They were in liquidation throughout this time. And then when you go and you want to apply for that stimulus package, right, from the banks have set one condition that says you must be in good standing. So if you are saying you must be in good standing already because of government's not honoring their obligations of paying you, right, you are immediately disqualified. So government is killing the very industries and the very black businesses, and as a result, he sees it as a loophole in order, to give it to these white companies.
So, when you're talking about black business, I mean, there are very many organizations that represent black business. For example, I'll be talking shortly to Sandile Zungu from Black Business Council. Surely they have the ear of the president. Surely they have the ear of government. Why are these issues then not spoken about widely in those gatherings that they often do have with the president? Surely these are people that can certainly speak for themselves and other black businesses. So where is the issue here? Who is not communicating? What is the problem then? Why are some of these things that you mentioned being ignored or not being addressed, as you earlier put it?
I feel like these organizations that you are speaking about, that I think is the Black Council in particular, they call themselves the apex of black construction companies. Yeah. They are just reactionary groups. In an article that was released by one of their members on Sunday World this week, they were expressing outrage at particularly the Moiku project, saying that they don't see how black businesses are going to be featured in that. I mean, if you are as powerful and strategic and you represent your members equally, why didn't you see this project before it was even awarded to this individual, right? So it shows that there is either the government is not taking them seriously or there really is no synergy between these companies. In fact, they even concede, right, that paying black business is late is genocide, right? But what are you doing? Why aren't you gathering all of your members in order to have a one big class action against the government, right? In order to force them to honor the payments, because they are killing the same businesses. The government says they want to create new jobs, but there was a report that was released to say that there's over 200 companies that were liquidated, and most of them were black people, right? That they were black business. Now, if you say you want to create employment, but construction companies, black-owned, are demising as a result, right? You are saying one thing, but on the other thing, we are going back as an entire society. But one thing that I need to mention particularly is that there is an act that was amended in 2012. It's called the Preferential Procurement Framework Act. Basically, it was trying to include black businesses and women-owned businesses, right? But the thing about that act, it's basically saying all we are doing is promoting medium and small businesses. It says nothing about creating large black businesses. So in the construction industry, it means black businesses will always be subjected to being subcontractors and nothing else above that means. And these organizations that represent them, it's doing nothing to ensure that they fight them. I'm saying people are being liquidated now. They are losing their livelihoods. People are being unemployed. What are you doing as black business?
Yeah. So tomorrow, of course, as you say, your piece will be up. And, of course, you obviously want people to read it. So I'm not going to tell you to give us too much of what you're saying there. With all that you're doing, this research, obviously then there are some kind of solutions you would have looked at where government really needs to start in terms of fixing what you're clearly telling us is a huge issue. So tell us then where government should go from this point and where really to stand. You've been quite hard on the issue of the Mooikloof project, and I hear you. But where exactly do you believe a government should then correct where they've gone wrong here?
Before we correct, we must bring in all. In fact, maybe this platform is a viable one. We must bring in all these sectors into one room, which maybe we may call it a boardroom kind of a dialogue, where everyone, because everyone is pointing fingers to one another. You bring government, you bring banks, you bring the institutions, and you bring the suppliers, because there's only three big suppliers that are supplying to this industry, and they are white-owned, like your Stewards and Lloyd and so forth. You bring them together, and you actually get to map out where is the problem. But one thing that the government needs to do, it needs to uproot the corruption that is happening in the finance department, where you've got officials, right? They say things like, they close the tabs and they say, I will sign this invoice when I come back. Why? Because they want to be bribed. So these black businesses that are already struggling, they need to factor bribery into their margins in order for their invoices to be processed. So bring all these stakeholders into here, because it seems like government is talking to certain people and is not talking to others. Bring them in here. Let's hold them accountable. Then after holding them accountable, and then we can progress forward. But one thing, lastly, that the government needs to do urgently, review the companies that were liquidated during this process, during COVID-19. Review them. Were they liquidated because they were incompetent? They were mismanaging their money? Because I believe, and my research indicates that that's not the case. It is because they are struggling to make ends meet, because government is paying them late. Now, government needs to review and check, can we save these things and stop liquidators from breaking and destroying black businesses?
All right. Sello Phahle, very passionate plea there. I'll certainly be taking a look at your piece tomorrow. Just tell me, where will I find it, by the way?
It's going to be on Mail and Guardian. All
right. Okay. So we'll take a read at that. Thank you so very much for giving us your time, Sello Phahle, columnist, also doing research on economic recovery of black-owned business. We appreciate your time, sir.